Bach.
All right, thank you, Mayor. You have before you a yellow sheet that we've gone and did our reconciliation. I apologize, they're trying to get it up on the screen, so anyone watching on TV will be able to see it, and hopefully we'll get it up there before we complete, but that's not a reason that we need to spend extra time on it. So we've gone through and just broke this out. If you'll note, in the top left, you'll see where I've put the DA conviction integrity unit in there, and we built in the money into the 2018. So if you come across the top, you have the department where we're spending the money. Then I have the county general fund, the city general fund, and then the bond and interest accounts, which are the areas that are impacted by this. So reconciling it, trying to get it down so we have the totals being a zero impact on what is the proposed budget, with the only exception being over under the bond and interest, where we will be reducing that amount by $300,000 in the 2019 budget and 2020, but 2019 is what you're adopting today. So then by each category, to show how it's done, if I look at the 2018 budget, you see where we built in the $7,500 for equipment and then $38,750 for staffing for the DA for 2018. That's fourth quarter. Then we've reduced $150,000 out of the Slitter bond case. And I'm going to stay in 2018, and then we've added $100,000 for building security. There is kind of your net increases and deductions if you go down to contingency reserves. So there's about a $37.50 difference in that point. And that's how that's balancing out. So we're actually adding $3,750 to our reserves this year in the county general fund. Now I'll go through the rest of that. Under the juvenile center increase, this just shows that if we were to take $450,000 and I put it to the Memorial Hall parking lot, I would be removing that from the transient reserve account. And then if we needed that other $1 million from transfer operations to cash fund the projects, and then we deduct the amount from the operations debt. So, and there's also the asterisk by that to show, now we're up on the board, the asterisk on that to show that we're only if needed. We won't make that transfer. We'll leave it in there if needed. Could you go grab me the pointer? Okay, so then as we go to the city 2019, so county general fund 2018 had the most detail in it, so it's more complex, thank you, to get through. In 2019, see, we built this to the AG case, so we've added $155,000 in the DA conviction integrity unit, and we've reduced $150,000 from the Slitter bond case money, meaning that we're $5,000 difference. So what I've done there, since it's just a mild difference, is I've reduced our reserves by $5,000. So essentially in the county budget, we've added $3,700 this year and reducing by $5,000. So we're pretty much at a wash on the county budget for these transactions. And the city general fund, the add-on here was for the SMID and then the building security. So you can see I took building security and I divided it between the city and the county, and probably most of that's going on the county side, but I think that's an equal division of how we'll do that going into this year. To pay for part of it from the city, I didn't really have a counterbalance to that, but we did have $350,000 in our contingency reserves this year, and we're into August almost, and I have that $350,000 still laid out. And I would have to say, what's a better place to use contingency reserves than going after building security for something that's in relation to what was a very catastrophic incident? We need to make changes to that now. So that's really what that kind of money's for. And then 2019, the SMID, $25,000, and I've just made the offset against the contingency reserves there as well. So those two, I don't really have a plus back to it to make it work, but I think taking it from the contingency reserves makes that work. So it keeps our bottom line the same. Then in bond and interest, you see where we've deducted the $300,000, and then that's a net $300,000 that comes back off there. So actually the amount of debt in the city debt for 2019 will be $13.2 million. As opposed, we were well over 16 last year when we completed this process, with our goal being to stay below 15. So it's a good number for us. This is all in keeping with the 2 mil reduction as is proposed in the budget. So if you adopt this sheet, if you adopt this proposed budget with this sheet attached, our amendment to it as Amendment A, or however we want to classify it, that'll incorporate all those changes as we move forward on Thursday evening. Any questions or thing I need to clarify?
Yes, Commissioner.
Well, thank you. And Doug, I appreciate staff's expediency in putting this forward. I have a couple of questions just for my own personal information. The DA Conviction Integrity Unit that you put $155,000 into, I thought during our discussion we were going to put that into an account that wouldn't go forward unless it was absolutely needed or approved. We call that no spending authority. We just put it into an account on the state side. But I was just curious if we're still going to do that. The SMID portion, the $25,000, was that going to take the mill to 11.026 or whatever it was we saw? Okay, that takes that to that. That ought to be mentioned down here so we can see that. And then the next point, if I may, the building security, you've divided it up between the county and the general fund, but yet the 3/8 cent sales tax does provide additional monies for the city and its firefighters and police officers, but it doesn't provide anything for the county's portion. So I might suggest that we look at putting a little more of the $200,000 out of the county budget into the sheriff's office and the court system to be a little more fair, and it takes the city already has this portion coming in. It's just a point of discussion. I think the county side needs to be addressed a little bit more. We have $10 million a year coming in, divided into nearly a third, and a third, but yet we don't have any money coming into the county for the sheriff's department. So I guess my comment would be I'd like to see a little more come out of the county side on that 200,000 versus 100 and 100 divided between the city and the county.
Okay, good points. So I think we do need to clarify on the yellow sheet for the document that we would put forth to you in Thursday that this is a special department fund or whatever for the DA's office. So I'd like you to come up with a name for that, how we'll classify that for this. We need to add the SMID mill rate, because while you would be approving the recommended mill rate that came with the proposed budget, we didn't take that necessary action. You approved a maximum mill rate, so we do need to put the SMID mill rate at the 11.0. So we need to add that to the yellow sheet, so that's clear on here. That's an excellent point. You know, building security, you're wanting to put more of the expense on the county side?
And if I may, it just seems to me that if we have the 3/8 cent sales tax moving forward, 100% of that money goes to fire, police, and infrastructure. And a majority of and I had asked the sheriff when we had him present how much of that money was shared with his department. He said none. Right. So, but yet we're still taking 100,000 out of the city when we have $10 million coming into the city for the police department, which I'm sure is in need of security, additional security, but they will have the monies to move forward with that. The additional 100,000 to building security for the county, I've got memos from the judges in reference to court security. I don't know what the security aspect is, but I just soon see the county portion of that 200,000 be a large amount out of the county budget versus the city. The city can make that up with their sales tax. I just think it's a more transparent movement, and it sends a commitment to the sheriff's department that we are partners in providing security not only for your officers but for the court-supported staff, and I just think it sends a strong message. Just my opinion.
Okay, I think, and I would only offer from the perspective as I try to divide out, assuming we'd be spending more on county buildings. We most likely, most of this expense will be on those of county, though I serve both city and county employees. So that's my justification to bill some of it back against the city. Also, you know, I may have city prisoners are over there, so I feel like there's a justification to bill this against the city, even though I'm probably going to be doing most of this work on the county side of the operations right now. So I think point is noted. The main focus to what we are trying to do right now is in the county buildings. And I don't think I'm going to be inhibited by where I take this expense from in working through this as I work through my general building security. I'll be going with the recommendations of the sheriff and the chief as we try to enhance this, sir.
So if there are no further questions,
So when we bring this back, so it'll be all our different colors of sheet, blue sheet, yellow sheet. This is the yellow sheet. So the yellow sheet will become a blue sheet which is our amendments to the commission agenda. It'll still be yellow, but it'll be attached under a blue sheet cover. We'll make these modifications that Commissioner Burrows so eloquently pointed out. We need to cover how the special unit be classified in the SMID mill rate, and then it'll be like this unless there's something else that we've missed. Okay, the only other thing we had was I wanted to quickly run through what approvals you'll be doing on Thursday night, so you have them, and this will just take a couple of minutes, but I think it also helps it, especially for those of you who may not have seen these. We have several approval actions that happen on Thursday evening, and it's a series of approvals of resolutions or ordinances that you'll be going through. Okay, so first is the library board tax rate. One of those that you don't really have a lot. If they submit it to you, it's our requirement to go through and approve the mill rate that they put in place, so we have to adopt that and move it forward. That's the first resolution you'll see. Last year, I know we spent a lot of time on this. The downtown SMID. So we may have, this will be incorporating. We'll need to call this out so we make sure we incorporate the actual mill or the rate. And it might make sense just to do it within the body of the order. We still have to do an attachment because this is already attached.
It's in the ordinance.
That
Mill rate.
11.02?
Yes.
Okay, so it's called out at that rate in the ordinance. So it will not need to be on the yellow sheet. It's called out in the ordinance that went out in your packets today at the 11.02.
Yes, 11.0257.
Okay. The water control, water pollution control sewer service rate. This is the one we built in at the 5% rate increase on January 1. So that's how this ordinance will be put forth. The BPU pilot rate, that keeps that rate constant to what it's been previously. That's how the budget's built. The annual action plan for community development block grant, as Ms. Miller presented tonight, and that's budget is built within our budget and the action plan that we have for that. And then the last item will be the 2019 annual budget as proposed, and I'll just note, and then as amended by attachment A, which will be this yellow sheet, we'll put A on the top of it. And those will be the actions you'll take Thursday night to finalize budget approval. Any questions? That's all I have, Mayor.
it is 8:30. We are adjourned.